Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well, then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. Hey, welcome back to the show. Today, I'm really excited to welcome onto the show today, Courtney Tarrant. She is the COO and owner of The Ad Girls, which is a female-focused Facebook and Instagram advertising agency. And she built a thriving business by catering to female-focused online entrepreneurs with a unique messaging-first methodology that's created over $40 million in revenue for her clients. Courtney's focus on profits has created a boutique agency model with consistent 35 to 40% margins. And I love that she brags about her margins because this is something we don't often talk about. And as we were discussing in this episode, Courtney and I actually have a lot in common. We have a lot of similar philosophies when it comes to business. So this was a super refreshing conversation to hear somebody else is really taking a similar approach to their business, even in a more creative space and operating an agency model similar to how we operate. It actually was really cool to talk to her about this. And she dropped so much knowledge on how you can work backwards and figure out how to build a sustainable and scalable model, whether you run an agency, a professional services business, or really any type of business. Let's dive in and hear from Courtney. Hey, Courtney, welcome to Keep What You Earn. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming by. Would you mind just saying hello to everybody listening and let them know who you are?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Courtney Tarrant. I am the co-owner of The Ad Girls, a digital marketing agency. We started in 2021, actually, but I've been doing this since I started my very first agency in 2015. So I've been doing this for almost 10 years. And I'm really excited to kind of talk to you about our growth and our path and like how we got here. We have a mission of putting more money in the hands of more women. And so I think that's super aligned with like what it is that you do and just what I know of this podcast. So yeah, I'm pumped to be here.
Yeah. And I know that that's the mission of so many people who are listening. And everyone wants to have that type of mission and be able to fulfill on it, no matter what the purpose is. We were talking a little bit before we hit record, and you were talking about how you run it in a non-traditional way, or you've done certain things with your agency that go against the grain. Can you give us some examples of kind of where you took a different turn than most do in sort of the agency template?
Yeah, for sure. So I think a really important part of this journey is like if we go back to the beginning, I met my now business partner in 2020. The world was exploding and we were like, what are we going to do? So we started this mastermind and we realized after chatting with each other, we had totally opposite zones of genius. And so she is just a brilliant front end marketer, great messaging strategist, just loves sales. And I am more of an operational person. I love getting nitty gritty into the numbers. And one thing that I always like had a vision on was I am not willing to sacrifice my profits as I scale. Like I get paid first and then everybody else gets paid. So sometimes that meant putting in a lot of extra elbow grease or working a lot of extra hours as I was building out this infrastructure. But that was sort of my guiding principle was like, I really want to stay focused on profitability. And so the Ad Girls came to be because we have these opposite zones of genius, and she and I had personally branded agencies. And in 2021, we merged and became the Ad Girls. And so we've both been doing this for about 10 years. We've been doing this for quite a while. And really, the vision of how to grow and scale the Ad Girls came through the idea of how do we actually like make the biggest impact possible for ourselves, for our team, and ultimately for our clients, right? And so we are a largely female team supporting largely female-focused brands and really trying to find a way to make the most impact possible, including like how are people going to live their lives? And so the main piece that I've always focused on is instead of paying people hourly and worrying about scope creep inside of an agency, I really have tried to build my agency around a really old concept that's not around anymore, but I was exposed to it maybe in 2010 called a results-only work environment that actually prioritizes the work that you get completed and the results that you're creating instead of like the hours that you spent sitting in a chair, or instead of like what does your daily output look like. A lot of the tracking efficiencies then become a lot easier, and what we are all working towards and what we are all pulling towards is ultimately results. And for us, we are a digital marketing agency, so that's performance based, which means that this fits really well with the work that we're implementing for our clients, because if we don't get them results, we're not going to retain them, right? So the results for us include amazing client care, but also really trying to make sure that our clients are ultimately profitable. And so that's been a guiding principle in the way that we set up our pay structures, our meeting structures. Like, how often does our team meet? When do they meet? Their own sort of dominion over their schedule, and all of those pieces coming together to like, how do we create the best results possible for ourselves and for our clients?
I love that. And it's very similar to how we operate. I know that we really didn't talk about this before, but you're speaking my language because it's traditional for an accounting firm to operate with timesheets and billable hours. But I threw that out the window pretty much the first thing I did and said, we're just going to do value based billing or results based billing and focus on what is the value that we're providing to the client? What are we gaining in terms of efficiency for them, making sure that it makes sense for everybody? And then we just control output. Because I said, who am I to pay based on input? I don't want you to take longer to get the jobs done. I want you to get paid for getting the stuff done that you had as on your assignment list this week. And if you get it done in less than 40 hours, cool, you can go chill, or you can find things to do for next week. But like, what a concept. This is like, it's so novel, or so, I guess not really novel because it's from an older concept, but I feel like it's so against the grain from what we've been brought up with in the corporate environment, which we just talked, like, you haven't really worked in the corporate environment before. This came for me from the trauma, I guess, of working in corporate and then going the opposite direction. Where did you come up with these ideas? And did you actively resist the idea of the hourly or the time-based billing? I'm just curious where that came from.
So I had a brief stint in corporate, actually, where I was an intern before I even graduated college, where they worked inside of this results only work environment. There was like a book on it. It was like really innovative, like 2012 or something. Like, this is the work of the future. And after working in that environment, I tried to like charge hourly, even in my entrepreneurial journey. And I was like, this doesn't feel good. It doesn't actually feel good to be efficient and then be paid less. This is like, why are we doing this? And because I had this experience of this results only work environment that I worked at inside of a corporate structure, I was like, everything else just didn't make sense to me. If I can't go grocery shopping at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday because this is my life that I'm living, then like, why am I doing this? And so it wasn't necessarily, I don't think, like a fight against the hourly thing in the same way that you've described. It was more just like, I want to live my life this way. And I would feel really out of integrity if the people that are like around me, the people that are working for me, are not also getting that same opportunity and are not getting that ability to work in that same environment. I want them to have flexibility in their lives. I want my company to be the best company that anybody's ever worked for. And that means that the benefits that I want, the lifestyle that I want, should also be available to the people on my team. And so that was always the way through which I approached it. And it made the finances for me also a lot easier because I was a busy entrepreneur and I didn't have to, again, pay attention to things like scope creep or how many hours are you using or what are you doing over here. And it just made that transition just a lot easier in terms of going from a solopreneur to hiring a team. It was like, I'm paying you a retainer based on the number of clients that you have. And then that work that they're putting out is, how can we make that as efficient as possible for you? If you're working too many hours, let's talk about it. Do you need more training? Do you need more support? Like, this is what I know my capacity is. This is what I believe your capacity could be. Let's try to like figure out how to make sure that you are efficient and that you can reach this, instead of being like, how many hours is this? Like, how many hours do you want it to be?
Yeah, it's almost like acknowledging that there isn't a connection between how much you work and how much gets done. And realizing that those two things can be related, but are not necessarily correlated. And I think it's just breaking that little rule there. And I do the same thing. So with my team, I say we have three levers to pull. If you feel like you have a big workload this week that you can't get done, do you need more people to help you, more time to get it done, or more clarity of instruction where we can cut down the scope of it? And if it's none of those three, then it's just you. Like, it's one of those three things will solve anything. And we've gotten trained on the team to ask for which lever to pull. Don't just say, "I can't do it," or don't just kill yourself and burn the midnight oil and suffer in silence, as I put it. Call on me and let's pull a lever. What do you need? and we're training the team to start asking for what they need to get the work done, to get the results done that they need to. And that can mean just more time to get it done. And then we set the expectation with our clients. We've come to realize that a lot of us are really overburdening ourselves for no really good reason when we could just operate, like you said, in integrity and with a little bit more balance.
Yeah, exactly. I tell my team all the time, like, it is our responsibility to build the agency that we want to work for. So if there's something you don't like, if there's something that's not working for you, it's actually not on me to fix it. It's on you to like come to me with a solution and figure out what actually would work for you. How can we make this better? Because this is an all of us thing. I could create this around the way that I want to work, but it's not going to work for everybody. And it's not supposed to, and it shouldn't, right? So you have 5 core values, but our 2 top core values is radical transparency and radical responsibility. We are honest about like if we're feeling overwhelmed, why we're feeling overwhelmed. We've also tried to eliminate the word overwhelm from vocabulary because I believe that overwhelm is a choice. You actually make a choice. You decide this is too much and then you keep going instead of deciding it's too much and reaching out for support. So how can we relate to this differently? We made this all up in the first place. Like I love saying that because obviously like my agency isn't small, but I look around and I'm like, I just made this up. Like we made this up. This is all like just out of our brains and we just created this beautiful like ecosystem of people and clients that are living beautiful lives and getting amazing results. And that is amazing. But the responsibility as we grow is that we have to keep looking at it like that, because if something isn't working, we have to fix it. You have to take radical responsibility for creating the life that we want, including like the results we're getting for our clients and how we're going to make that work. And I think those 2 core values make a results-based work environment like possible. Because if you don't have those, then it all kind of falls apart, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that a lot of people aspire to have a type of company that you have. They aspire to have a culturally healthy company where everyone feels like they're participating and that you have high performing people that are willing to speak up and say they need something or that they have suggestions, right? You want to encourage that. But I think a lot of people also get caught up in, well, when I make enough money to hire those people, I will have that. And they add profit as a precedence to that. You've kind of flipped it on its head again by you just focused on your first answer. You said, I started with profit and backed into that. Talk to me about this sort of profit first approach that you had and how you were able to maintain a consistent margin despite, you know, I mean, you started in 2020, so you've seen some stuff. You've seen ups and downs. So talk to me about how you've been able to maintain profit and what factors are the most important for you.
Right. So my first agency, I actually started in 2015. So been around the block before COVID, after COVID, all things in between, right? And the way that I always approached it was at the end of the day, if I want to make, let's say I want to make $10,000 a month, which was I think like my very first ever goal that I set for myself. I want to be making $10,000 a month. If I want to be doing that, how many clients could I handle on my own where that would make sense? Initially, I never set a pricing based on a formula or what everybody else was doing. I set a pricing based on this is my max capacity and this is how much I want to be earning. So that's how much I'm going to charge. Then when I started hiring people, I've broken it up now into a formula of 35% deliverable, 15% sort of like working in the business. So operations, that kind of thing, which leaves me with about 50% profit as like my goal. And I usually have about a 10 to 15% wiggle room inside of there of, oh, I had a special project this month. This went up, that went up, this went down, which is how I've maintained 35 to 40% consistently every month for basically my entire existence. And so I take how much I wanted to earn out of that remaining 50%, and I added another 50% on top of it to be able to pay my people what it is that I wanted to be paid. So literally at the beginning, I even did all of the internal work myself, and I paid them exactly what I was paying myself. We split it in half. Then as I grew, I was able to increase my prices to be able to build out my internal support team. And then from there, right, like I actually focused on implementation first because I knew that that was something that like I was going to always have to get out of. And I know a lot of people hire assistants first, but I actually focus because I'm a service provider on the implementation first. I wanted that person, my very first hire, in the weeds with me. I wanted to show them how I do it. This is the way. And I deeply, deeply like entrenched them in my thought process and in my training and making sure that they could do this well. And then I worried about how my business was going to operate over here because I was always used to operating my business. I think I could do that even now still. That's the thing I'm most familiar with as I've gotten further and further out of delivery and focusing on those profit percentages. You know, I'll take We have a coaching program where we talk with other agency owners, digital marketing agency owners, about how to sort of replicate what it is that we've created. And one of the things I look at is if this is your price point, let's say you have $1,000 is how much you charge a month. You have $350 that you can now afford to pay people to implement that work. Is that enough? And they're like, oh, that's not enough. Correct. You are not charging enough. The problem here is not that people are too expensive. It is that you are not charging enough in order to be able to pay those people that are top talent. So if top talent is $1,000 a month, then you really need to be charging around $5,000 a month to be able to make up for that. I think that's actually 20%. So a little bit less than that, but you know what I mean?
Still a good idea though, because those people will grow, expand, be worth more money. You may have to have another person help you out with that or pull from other people's time. And I always say price for, I think this is where people get caught up. Because even if you're doing it all yourself, you figure out what that person would cost you. And I'm like, you price now, you get to eat the margin yourself and pay yourself as an employee in your own mind, but always still know that that's what you're going to have to spend on an employee. People sell themselves short too soon because they're like, well, it's just me and I have time and I can do it. Yes, but you're doing for free the work that somebody actually costs $1,000 a month. So you should be factoring that into your pricing, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's a mindset to that too, right? When you get on a sales call, you got to be confident. If you're going to start all of a sudden start charging $5,000 a month, you got to be confident that that's
That's what you have to charge. That you're not stretching up, that you're like, "No, this is my price, and if I go lower than this, I lose money."
yeah, and it's yeah, right? Oh my gosh, that's the thing I love about numbers is like it's so empowering because you're like, this isn't like how much I feel like I should charge. This is how much I have to charge to be able to pay my team and like make the money that I want to make as well. Like I have to charge this. And I always tell like a lot of people, like just in my group and in my network, like, okay, if your goal is 5,000 and you're charging 1,000, maybe like stair step, like feel in your body, where does it feel good? And be like, I want to charge 3,000. Ooh, too high. 2,000. That's a little low. 2,500. Okay, I feel good about that and charge that for a few calls and like work your way up to it. But if you have a formula and you have that clarity of, I know that I want to pay my team, I want everybody at my agency to be minimum making $50,000 a year. Like that is non-negotiable for me. Then you need to like start building that in now if you want to be able to make sure that not just you're making money, but that your team's making money also, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. I was asked this question early on in my business when somebody asked me, "What more would you have to do to charge another $1,000 a month?" Like, what more would you have to do to justify that price to your customer? Would you have to offer more deliverables or more of something or more of something? And I said, no, like what we're doing now is like what we should be doing. We're not missing, like, we're not deficient on the service level. So then it's like, then just charge more for it. Some people will buy it, some people won't. That's okay. But it is a mindset thing because it's like, what more could you possibly do for these people to justify another thousand a month? And I'm like, you know what? Nothing. I'm doing everything I need to earn that much. It's like, then just go charge it.
Right. Or even worse, you have people on the other side that'll be like, well, I feel so scared to charge more than $3,000 a month. And I'm like, cool, then you need to cut something that you're doing for your clients so that you can afford this. And they're like, we're in ads. If we cut one of our services, our clients are the ones that are actually going to suffer because they need all of this in order to be profitable. You're cutting your nose to spite your face to be like, you want the amount that you're charging to like feel better or sound better. And again, it's like, it's not that it can't be a process, but understand that then you have to stop doing for us, it would be like doing design for your clients, but then they're going to design it and their designs are probably not going to be good. And then you're going to be running ads with bad designs because you were afraid to charge too much. This is what your clients need to be successful. In the most ideal scenario, to be successful, they need to do this. And at the beginning, I did have like tiered levels of service, but ultimately that just hurt me because now you're doing something that you're not good at and I need to be doing it for you so that I can get you the results that you want. And so like really looking at it from both angles of what else could I be doing? Nothing. And like, what would I have to get rid of actually to be able to continue to charge the price that I'm at? And that isn't going to serve you or your clients either.
This is like looking in a mirror. This is literally how we've integrated all the different services in, and we were like an all or nothing. Like, you cannot buy the sides by themselves. You're getting the entire meal or you're getting nothing because this will ensure your success and make it unreasonable. You will not be successful. We said, what level of service must make it unreasonable that it will not be successful? We offer that and we don't shortcut it. The way I explain it to my team and to my clients is I could sell you a table. You could tell me, I want a 25% discount and I will chop a leg off. Is it a table? No, because you need all four legs for it to do what it's intended to do. So I always say, I'm happy to chop off a leg for you and sell you that for 75%, but I don't think that's what you want. I think it will start to fail. Good luck putting a plate on it. So I always say, like, we sell what we know will make you successful. We want it to be unreasonable that you will not get your money's worth and unreasonable you won't achieve success. We're not going to be gambling with your money, and we're not going to allow you to sell yourself short on that. And it's not even a sales tactic. It's purely, I realized I did the same thing. Tiered pricing, like a la carte stuff. And I was like, fine, you only want the books. Fine, you only want the taxes. I was like, F that. We're going to do everything for you, or we're doing nothing. Because if you try to do the books yourself and we do the taxes, the books are crap. And then we have crap data to work with, garbage in, garbage out. So just like you with the graphics, it's like garbage results with garbage creative.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I love this. This is how I think everybody should think.
Agree. I'm like, what a concept, right? Like, I think this is just, for me, this is common sense. And by common sense, I mean, it's my intuition that this is how it should probably work, like based on experience and based on how I feel as a customer. But it's a similar thing where I think that we go from this culture of we're not order takers. You don't have to do what the client's asking. You can say, this is my menu. It is these three things. I mean, how many gourmet restaurants have you been to? You can't customize the recipe. They're the expert. This is it. Like, this is what the steak comes with. It's like, can I sub out? No, you can't.
Mhm. Right. Well, also that admin work to keep track of all of those different packages and make sure your team isn't doing the thing they're not supposed to be doing for the lower price package because it was over. Just like everybody actually gets exactly what they need. That's what we always say. We're your partner in profit. Like, what do you need? For any like advertising agencies out there, like an ad by itself doesn't actually do anything. It gets people to your website. It doesn't convert anybody. It doesn't put more money in your bank account. And if that is our mission, we have to look at all of it. And that means every agency is going to have a bell curve of service where one client is going to not require a bunch and one client is going to require all of your energy for a whole day. Like, it's just how it's going to shake out. And so if we know that we are able, this is everything that we could possibly do to get you success, and we can do any of it to get you to where you need to be, like all that does is actually further your success and further your ability to actually continue to drive results inside of your business. And so keeping track of those, the admin, right? In my agency, we have 15% to be able to handle the admin side of the business. And that breaks apart if all of a sudden my admin has to start tracking packages and who's what and like looking at service up charges and all of that stuff. It's not furthering anybody, right?
Yeah. It's not helping accomplish the goal. It's a detraction or a distraction from it. And it's just going to consume more time between where you are and where you want to be. Speaking of that, Courtney, what are some of the metrics that you think are really valuable to track in an agency? Like, not just financial, but like, what are you keeping your eye on as a founder to indicate if you're, moving in the right direction toward your goals or not?
Yeah. So one of our biggest metrics is retention. And so we actually give bonuses to our team based on retention because we want our service to be the best ever. Ads is half art, half science, right? So we can use all the science, but at the end of the day, like, it's also art. It doesn't have a 100% success rate. And anybody that tells you that is lying. So just be careful of that. But what we want to do is that no matter what, no matter who walks through that door, they will have the best partnership experience. They will have the best service available. And that is what like our guarantees and our promises are around. So retention is a huge metric for us. And we incentivize the team to be in alignment with that. The other metric that we look at is our cost of acquisition. So we actually, because we're an ads company, we acquire a lot of our clients through ads. And so we look at each month, how many new clients did we get? How much did we spend? And we actually base our bonuses on the consistent cost of $1,000 to $1,500 cost per acquisition of a new client. So if I don't have to spend $1,000 to get a new client through the door and you're keeping them because you're doing an amazing job, I'm going to pay you like a percentage of that each month, that I don't have to go out and find a new client now. And I'm going to incentivize you on focusing on the same things that I'm focusing on. I think that's such an important part in a results-based environment that we're all actually pulling towards the same thing. And so I think it's retention. And then that retention piece breaks down into results, like what result rate are our clients getting? We have like 30-day surveys that go out that are a lot about the softer stuff. I think for an agency, we focus a lot more on the softer pieces of what we are actually achieving. And by doing that, we used to track when we started together in 2021. It was interesting because Jen, my business partner, and I, we are so different people and we were looking at things so differently. I was always looking at things from a little bit more quantitatively and she was looking at things more qualitatively. So I got to build these systems around that qualitative piece and we saw our retention rates jump by like 30% in the first year of really utilizing that process because we were not just focused on people would get great results. They'd get a 4 times return on ad spend and they'd still leave. And we were like, what is happening? And so by focusing on those softer things, we have people that maybe don't get great results in the first 4 months of their contract, but they still stay because of the way that we show up in partnership with them. Or they leave and they still refer people to us because of the way that we showed up in partnership with them. And that piece is, I think, the most important thing that a lot of agencies neglect because we are hired to get results, to provide, this sort of almost transactional service. But if it's not done with deep integrity, if it's not done by focusing on the way that we're delivering that service, then we actually like miss the point. And so, the way that we've structured this is to focus on some of those more qualitative pieces and making sure that we are retaining our clients for a long period of time.
Yeah, I just label that as trust, right? Because I trust you that this will happen or we'll get the results we want to. And sometimes the results come in the form of that conversion. And sometimes it just comes in the form of, I feel like I have handed this off to the right people and I trust you guys with it, right? And similar to, even if we don't achieve, we'll say tax savings for a client because of limitations or whatever, they still will keep us around because they also know, like, I trust Shannon and her team with all of my finances. Results aside, we know that there's different factors, even the weather, this, that, like we can't be, in Unity algorithm, right? There are certain external factors that we cannot control, the law, anything. And there are certain aspects to it where it's just like you just have to find the right partner. And once you have that trust, that's the biggest thing. And retention is like the lagging indicator that one of the leading indicators is working. So retention is your symptom sign that we're doing something right on the inside to retain these people. And it gives you the tool you need to figure out what are we doing right and what can we keep doing? Or if you're not retaining, it's like, what could we do better? Where are we losing people? And it allows you to ask the right questions as the founder to probe into what you actually have to unlock versus simply looking at profit margin, which shouldn't be underrated. But, looking just at the numbers, you can't really tell what's working and what isn't. You got to go a little bit deeper.
Yeah. And I do think your numbers tell you a story, right? And so we do look at, our month over month retention rate, our month over month profit rate, our month over month, like, how did our team expenses expand or not? Like what subscriptions are we looking like? We're looking at all of those pieces to tell us the story. But at the end of the day, if we have 80% profit margins, but we're not retaining clients, then like, where's the integrity in that? Like, where's the more money in the hands of more women? We've got to be looking at really how happy our clients are. And we break that down even by team member. So each week, actually, our team member reports on, are you hitting our target KPI for retention or not? They have, anywhere from between 4 to 6 clients at a time. And so between 4 to 6 clients, are you going to hit your retention numbers? And if you're not, what's going on? Like, why aren't you hitting them? And that really allows you to dive a little bit deeper into things like the results and the algorithm and strategy and all of that we're also tracking. But really, it's all coming down to that one number. And I think that another thing that this model really supports is ease of use for the business owner. If you're tracking too many things, if it's hard to figure out what numbers are important and what numbers aren't, then like it's too hard to use. And so, we talked a little bit before we got on the call of like, I don't have a ton of corporate experience. And so a lot of what I designed, I did so because it made sense to me and not because somebody told me this is what I should do and this is how a business operates. I was like, I just want to know what's the most important thing that I need to pay attention to that everything else is always contributing to or pulling away from. And that is where I came up with this retention number and what we all focus on, not just at an agency level. We also have pods. So we have like directors of like each pod of 25 clients. And so at a pod level, we're looking at that. And then we're also looking at it at an individual account manager level. What is your retention rate? And that allows us to really identify who is up for the job and who isn't. Advertising is a performance industry. We are working diligently to get results for our clients. And even if you have the best of intentions, but you can't perform at the end of the day, like that's going to impact things, right? So how do we track that and how do we catch those trends before they turn into a pattern that's impacting the reputation of this thing that I have spent my whole career and whole life building.
Yeah, and I love that it's a proactive versus reactive approach as opposed to waiting until like the quarter end results come in or anything. It's more of that ongoing of where are we trending and do we need to steer the ship? Because that would be a really good identifier if you need to go make a change or something has to happen. You're able to make decisions and take action faster if data's on your side. In an ad agency of all things, like you guys appreciate good data to know if you need to be making some pivots and decisions. I love this because all of this is so valuable, guys, if you're building a business that you plan to scale or you plan to sell, because you have to be ready with all the data, you have to be organized. And before we started talking, actually, Courtney shared with me that you recently had a business acquisition. And I would be remiss if I did not include that in the episode and hear more about this just as a curious, let's say I walk up to you at a coffee shop or a bar and I'm just like, hey, let's tell me about this acquisition. What's going on? Like, I would love to unpack that with you and share some of your new wisdom with our listeners.
Yeah. So the interesting thing, we've been talking this whole time about like partnership and how we'll have clients that'll leave and then, they'll recommend clients to us. And we had a client like that in 2021 who just continued to like send people our way. And we're like, we don't even know, like, what is she doing? And she reached out to us earlier this year, actually just, gosh, she at the beginning of August. So like not that long ago. It was a very, very fast acquisition. And she just had her third baby. And she was like, I went out. I love you guys. I trust you. I love the way you operate. Do you want to buy my business? And we were like, yes, actually, we do. This has been on Jen and I's radar for quite some time that we wanted to acquire businesses and continue to expand our portfolio because in order to deliver great service with integrity for us and the way that we do it, we hit a cap a little bit. Right around like 3 million is kind of like where we're like, after that, we have to reinvent the wheel. And I don't really have any interest in doing that, to be totally honest with you. I love the way we get to serve our clients. I love the boutique style. I love the service we get to provide. And so we know that in order to expand, we want to be investors and we want to acquire other businesses. And so she approached us and was like, hey, what do you guys think? And we were like, yes, please, can we? She actually ended up having quite a few offers on the table, but chose us because of actually the structure in this model. I saw she is an operations person through and through. Her name is Jordan King, and she was the owner of a business called Easy Scaling that now belongs to us. And basically what she does is she helps businesses scale from zero to $1 million, right? Like that's sort of her thing. And she has a bunch of offers that help people do that because she's an operational mind. It was like, oh, it was beautiful the way she constructed it all. And I was like, I see your vision and I can take it and I know I can make it more profitable. I can retain your team and I can get this to where you want it to be. I see what you're doing. I see where you want to go and like pick me. Like I can do this. And so we had a super fast due diligence process where we just assessed kind of all of her product suite entirely together. And now we have sort of an extension of the Ad Girls arm where we get to help women get the support that they need as they scale. I think it's so difficult to outsource. It's so challenging to find people that you can trust. And so it's sort of a two-phase business where one phase is called Scaling School. It's for people that are just sort of starting out. It's a low monthly membership, but we have 12 amazing, like tenured professors is like what we call them. In addition to another, I'm not quite sure how many, adjunct professors that are teaching you about every facet of business, sales, marketing, leadership, profitability, finances, like everything is in there. And then we have an implementation team that is our team for our second offer, which is a fractional COO and implementation team. So it's not just the person to organize the stuff, it's the whole team of like 20 plus contractors to actually do the work for you. So this is what we need to do to get your business off the ground. Here's the team that's going to implement. We're going to handle the whole thing. So it's sort of phase one and phase two of your business, which then leads really nicely into the Ad Girls, of course, which is when you've got your systems and you've got your organic stuff down, you go to the Ad Girls and we get to, put some gasoline on the fire and just like make it do the thing that you know that it's capable of doing. So yeah, that's the business. That's our new business, our third actually.
So just to unpack this, so I'm gonna tell you, these are like the milestone points I just heard in that story. One was relationships are everything. You never know when one is going to lead to the next big thing. So there's that. The other thing is that you mentioned that you found that alignment in values, found that alignment in like they trusted you to hold their baby, if you will. that you would carry on the mission. So there was some trust there. Also, you highly valued the fact that it was going to be integrated into an existing business model and that it would align from a business standpoint. It's not simply, you know, it's something that will feed each other. They will supplement each other. They will complement each other and they will have a similar clientele base. It's not like, oh, I own a restaurant and I'm also going to buy a hair salon. There was a degree of focus and integration in this acquisition where you had probably considered it not just economically, like this will make us money, but also does this work as a cousin, to the ad girls, and will they play nice together? Will they be able to play off of each other and then create an ecosystem as a result? I think that people overlook that. I think they overlook that how will this fit into my general business ecosystem versus an idea in isolation. They'll say, this sounds like a great purchase. I see, or a great initiative or a great idea. But I go, how is it integrated into your overall mission and your big idea? And it does, Courtney, integrate into your more money in the hands of more women. She got to have an exit while she's becoming a mother again. You got to then pass on the mission and create that ripple effect, right? And then also your team. So it's kind of all serving that one thing, which is probably why it was such a clear yes for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And Jen and I joke sometimes because we're like, wouldn't it be great if we owned like a laundromat? Like laundromat problems feel like they would be so nice. Like I'll just go fix a machine versus like handling the emotional lift of scaling a business, because that is like what we get to do as service providers actually is like we get to partner with people on the biggest thing that they will ever do in their lives for so many people, right? And it's an emotional burden. It's an emotional like lift to say, this is my heart and soul. This is everything that I want to do for the world and do for people across the globe. Will you help me? And if it doesn't go well, or if there's a bumpy year, or if there's something that doesn't work, like it's not just, oh, it's like the numbers didn't hit this month. It's like there's so much in that. And so I always have fantasized a little bit about like laundromat problems versus the type of problems we get as service providers. But this acquisition felt like it was literally created for us. It felt like, we get to take this structure that we have at the Ad Girls and take it and implement it into another service-based agency model and like take actually people along the backside of it with us and say, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. This is what it looks like. This is like our numbers so far, right? One of the things that we had talked about during the acquisition was like, man, I wish that everyone could like be a part of this process and like see the emotional underbelly of what is happening here. And it's just not possible because of NDAs and so many other things. But like, I want to find a way where we can bring more women and like have a seat at this table, no matter what your revenue and your income is. And so, like teaching women how to scale their businesses, how we've scaled obviously over here to a multi-million-dollar place. We're going to take this one at about $500,000 a year and scale it to a multi-million-dollar place. And meanwhile, we're going to teach everybody like how we did it. We're going to give everyone like the keys to the kingdom. There needs to be more women in these rooms. There needs to be like more people with heart and soul that are doing these big things. And like, that's what we want to make possible. That's what I think our mission is deeply aligned to. And this acquisition gets to now be a huge part of that we're like so excited for. That gets to support our clients, even at the Ad Girls, and also gets to support just like our community, our online community of subscribers and followers and people. And so, yeah.
One more point I want to make from your story is you were able to say yes and take advantage of that opportunity because of your discipline around your profitability and your model for so long, because you
Yeah.
kept your promises to yourself. You kept your promises to keep your profit. You kept your promises to set that aside without having a necessary purpose for it other than you need to sit here. I need you later. Like stay here in the bank account. We're going to need you. You were in the position to say yes to an acquisition. And I love how clearly that yes was, like seeing your face just go, yeah, of course we're going to do this. I feel like that's the response of someone who doesn't have to check their bank account, right? To say, yes, we can do this. Like we'll make it work. And that is the byproduct of the discipline that you've had in actually keeping your promises on your profit and keeping your promises to your money and saying, you're going to have a purpose, you'll see. And basically being able to say that quick, yes, I'm so happy for you for being able to do that. And I think that a lot of people can learn from that and say, this is something that can happen for you, but does require some discipline. And it does require you to look at your numbers and to embrace these types of things and to actually calculate your profit, right? And to figure out what those numbers look like for you. I believe you mentioned you have some type of tool to share with our listeners that helped you in that journey. Would you mind sharing that with them?
Yeah, I do. So I created a calculator that is like, how much do you actually need to make in your business in order to take home what it is that you want? So it's like a revenue calculator, but you can find it at theadgirls.com/free calculator. And just like plug in your numbers. I think it's a really fun tool to play with. If you get stuck on anything, there's contact information on there, but you can also reach out to me on Instagram, Courtney Tarrant, Courtney.Tarrant on Instagram. And so I'd love to support you as you walk through that. But in general, like, how can we just put more money in the hands of more women? That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here to support. And so, yeah, I think that tool will be a cool, fun thing. I think it's fun, at least, to see how much you really need to be aiming for to get to where you want to be.
Yeah, guys, go play with that. Go have some fun with it. Courtney, thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate your time and all of these stories. I think it's going to be really empowering for those listening to go out and go build the thing their way.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been amazing. I'm so, so excited to continue to connect.
One of the fastest ways that digital business owners lose cash is not having a clean tech stack. And by that, I mean individual costs for email marketing platforms, CRM, community page, course creation platform, website designers, and all these things do add up. And it can be super hard to run a profitable business using all of these different systems. That's why I love Kajabi. Kajabi is your all-in-one solution that manages your business throughout the customer journey. From lead generation to taking payment and sending onboarding emails, we use Kajabi for everything. And you can try Kajabi for 14 days free by heading to trykajabifree.com or click the link below in the show notes.